Before the terrorist attacks on America back in September of 2001, the single largest loss of American civilian life happened in Guyana on November 18th, 1978. 909 inhabitants of Jonestown, 304 of which were children, all died by apparent cyanide poisoning, mostly in and around the main pavilion. Their leader, Jim Jones, convinced his followers to take such drastic measures in the name of their faith. People who didn't go along with it were apparently forced to comply. In a recording that was found at the site afterwards, Jim Jones said, "We did not commit suicide. We committed a revolutionary act of suicide, protesting the nature and inhumaneness of this world." As a kid who grew up in the 80s, I didn't hear much about the Jonestown incident, except through side comments like, "Don't drink the Kool-Aid." It wasn't until I went to seminary that I learned the horrific details about this tragic event. And after studying back up on this and other cults and mass suicides in preparation for this sermon, I am reminded of how religion can really go to dark places. Not careful. In an increasingly pluralistic society, one might be tempted to take a live and let live approach to things. An idea that basically all religions or faith groups pretty much add up to the same thing. After all, what right do I have to say that one religion is better off than the others if my beliefs are right and your beliefs are wrong? I think that comes from a noble place to think that way. But unfortunately, things like Jonestown are a stark reminder to us that not all faith groups add up to the same thing. How did something like Jonestown happen? How do suicide bombers happen? How does the Heaven's Gate cult happen? I was actually old enough to remember when that happened. That mass suicide happened back in 1997. For most of us, I think the very last thing we would do is lay down our life for something. That if I'm going to die for something that I believe in, then I must really believe it and hold that this thing, this cause, this faith is greater than my life. And it's one thing to die for your faith, but it's quite a different thing to willingly go to your death or even harm other people in the name of your faith. The above examples are dark reminders of us of the dangers of blind obedience in faith. Kimball's second warning sign about when religions become evil is blind obedience. And in studying these cults and these mass suicides, again, I found three common threads to each of them. One is a charismatic leader. Two is the removal and call to isolation away from loved ones and the rest of society. And finally, three is no longer being able to ask questions or dissent about the faith.